My wife and I have been together 3 years and married for 1. We have an infant. The relationship has been the best of my life and relatively smooth throughout. No red flags. Our child is healthy and happy. We're in a pretty great familial situation currently. We are blessed to have no real stresses or anxieties. We were at the grocery store, and my wife asked me not to purchase something because of the potential BPA in the item, a chemical that can leach into food and impact fertility. I joked that I didn't have issues with fertility since we had a kid as soon as we started trying, and I've been consuming that item regularly. Then she joked, "Well, maybe our kid's not yours." It took me a second to really process what she said, but I got very sad and upset once I did. I initially told her, "Don't joke about that, and why would you say something like that?" And I stopped talking the rest of the time at the grocery store. But once we got to the car, the idea had built up enough in my head that I told her I would get a paternity test immediately. I'm shopping on Amazon for one right now. She pushed back and started going down several defensive vectors, from "why don't you trust me" to "is your reaction saying something about you I should be worried about?" To which I replied heatedly, "I understand the idea is ludicrous, but you suggested it completely out of the blue, and now it's out there. And there's no way to put this question away ever again, except to get a test." Finally, after a few rounds of this, she acquiesced and left me to look for a test. I trust my wife. She's a fantastic person, a successful professional, a great mother, etc. But I have never even fathomed that our child wasn't mine until she made what was in all likelihood the worst joke and retort in history. I wonder whether general trust in our relationship being very stable and happy outside of this mean I should just be taking my wife's word for it, even if she was the one that raised the issue. Am I overreacting? Am I the idiot? The escalation here is really fast to me. She makes a joke at the cash register, and by the time you get to the car, it's a major issue? That doesn't seem like you trust your wife, especially since you started this joking with the joke about your fertility. Her joking retort seems utterly normal to me. Your response to asking for a DNA test within maybe 20 minutes is not normal to me and may damage this supposedly great relationship. You are the idiot. Take some time to reflect on your reaction and communicate with your wife. You both need to have a conversation about this. Not the idiot. She made a bad joke and is stoked about of insecurity within you. The test is not harmful to anyone and will set your minds at ease. However, I find it strange that so many are saying wanting the test is a red flag. Why is it that men wanting to confirm paternity is so hard for people to understand? At this point, it should be a standard thing, instead of some taboo issue that only untrustworthy men ask for. He's accusing her of cheating on him because she responded to one joke with another joke. How is that not harmful to her? OP, you are the idiot. You fully admit your wife makes sarcastic and crass jokes. You cross into idiot territory demanding and performing a paternity test. You're lying about trusting your wife. How could one off-colored joke that you were both joking about suddenly dispute all trust when it comes to your child's paternity when there are zero histories of any serious marital issues? You don't get to claim you trust your wife while simultaneously claiming you have to check your child's paternity because she made a joke that rubbed you wrong. Once you go through with this test, you have officially on paper challenged your wife's faithfulness and honesty. You're already teetering on such a challenge, which is why she asked you if she should be worried about anything. I doubt you'll come back from the paternity test, but it sounds like you've allowed this joke to crack the entire foundation of your relationship. I have always been the outsider in my family. My interests never aligned with theirs. I was left out of most things. I didn't really let it bother me too much. I just did my thing and eventually was engaged to a woman my family loved. We moved interstate for my work. My family used to call regularly, mostly chatting with my ex. We tried for a child and she fell pregnant, and my family and hers were ecstatic. One day, however, she lost it. Things got tough, and eventually we separated. I was devastated to say the least. I struggled and barely went through the motions of life for a few years after the event. During these toughest times of my life, I found my family calling less and texting less. Never heard from brother or sister, not even to give condolences when we lost our child. I found I was calling my parents more to initiate conversations. Finally, one day I just stopped calling. I didn't get a text or a call for 10 months, not even on my birthday. When they did eventually call, I didn't bother answering. They couldn't check up on me during my worst of times, and I couldn't be bothered talking to them at all. I almost ended it all. A year or two later, I got 2 separate invitations to weddings. My brother and sister were both getting married in the same year. I just tossed the invites in the bin. I had not even talked to them in years. They would not miss me at the weddings. A week before my brother's wedding, my mother texted me and asked me if I was going. I said no. She then began to barrage me with texts about how my brother wanted me there and that I should go. I kindly informed her my brother would not care. We've not spoken, and I'm not interested. Well, mother started scolding me and started telling me, what will everyone think if his own brother doesn't show up? It would be embarrassing to the family. I replied, your family? I have a new family. I have friends that call me every day. I have friends that want me to be with them at Christmas and birthdays. These friends are more family than you ever were. These friends were worried when my relationship broke down. She stopped texting. After a while, I wondered if I had gone too far. I never regretted not going to the weddings. I think my mother showed my father what I said. A month later, he apologized and said he should have been there for me more, and now often texts to check up on me. He doesn't always expect a reply, but seems happy when I do. I sometimes see how close some people are with their blood families, and I do wish I had that. Then feel bad for how I talk to my mother, but I soon get angry again that they didn't even try to check up on me in my darkest times, and I had to do all the work communicating until I gave up. Anyway, am I the idiot for saying what I did to my mother and not showing up to the weddings? Not the idiot. You told her the truth. You were hurt that your own blood family wouldn't be there for you in your lowest moments, and then have the audacity to remember you only to save face during your siblings' weddings. Not sure if it means anything, but at least your dad is checking up on you now. If your mom and siblings do care, they will reach out to you, not the other way around. You're in a better place with your chosen family, and that matters. Dude, I've lived almost this exact story, except I'm the one who had the loss. It was an absolute nightmare, but worse so. It's like overnight I was dropped from all family and community in my life. I was too depressing to be around. One couple actually admitted this. I went radio silent, and nobody came looking for me. I noticed at some point the same shift happening with my family, me reaching out to them or going to visit only to never ever have it reciprocated. So I just stopped and waited. I haven't spoken to my mom in about a year now. I'm so sorry you have to walk this path. I'm sorry you were so alone at this time, but you cutting your family out because they didn't meet an expectation that you didn't communicate is on you a little. They definitely could have done more, of course, but no one is psychic. No one was intentionally ignoring you. Also, that being said, you're an adult who is completely entitled to decide who is and isn't in your life. No idiots here. Sorry the family didn't make more of an effort. My fiance, 24 female, and I, 24 male, recently got engaged, so we started to pick out our wedding party. Yesterday, my fiance said she wanted her sister, 22, to be her maid of honor. Her sister lived with us for a while when she was going to college near our apartment. Due to certain issues with their school's housing, we agreed to let her stay with us, as it would only be for a semester. I had only met her a few times before this, but she seemed nice. However, once she moved in with us, that's where things started. She would say things like, "You would look good in that," or "I wish I could find someone like you." During the few months, it divulged into her accidentally walking in on me in the shower, spilling things on me so that I have to change clothes, saying that she should be in my fiance's shoes, and constantly making comments about my body. I told my fiance about these things multiple times because it made me uncomfortable, but she kept dismissing me. I also brought these concerns to her sister, but she kept playing it off as a joke. After that, nothing changed, but luckily she moved out once she could go back to the dorms. When my fiance mentioned that she wanted her sister as maid of honor, I said I was uncomfortable with that. I told her everything I've brought up before and said that her sister might try to ruin the wedding because of this huge crush, if that's even the right word, that she has on me. I also said that maybe I'd be okay with her being involved in the wedding in some other way, but I don't feel comfortable with her being that involved and so close to both of us. I said that it was her choice, but that is how I feel about it. So my fiance said, I told you before this is how she is. I want to keep her as my maid of honor. Then I said, what if you were uncomfortable around my brother, best man? Wouldn't you want him to be out of the wedding party? She said, well, yeah, but that's your brother we're talking about, so it makes sense. For context, my brother is married with kids, and he is truly a nice guy. My fiance has met him plenty of times, and not once has he done anything that would make her uncomfortable. Nor has my fiance brought up concerns about him. So I said, what the heck is that supposed to mean? And she said, I just don't like him very much. It's nothing against him. So I told her that there is a double standard here. My brother could get kicked out of the wedding party for just my fiance not liking him, while her sister can't get kicked out of it for her practically harassing me. I said she understood that I want our wedding to go well, so I want us to enjoy ourselves without questioning if something goes wrong. She said, I get that, but having my sister as my maid of honor would make me happy. I said that if she doesn't take my happiness into account, then I'm leaving. So as I was leaving, she told me that I was an idiot. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And I would stick to this, OP. Your fiance is choosing someone who harassed you over you on your own wedding day. It's not practically, she did. Her behavior was repeated and quite frankly disgusting. I would make this the hill you die on because it indicates how your boundaries matter to her, or if they don't. She's signing up to put you first and foremost for the rest of her life. If she isn't willing to hold true to that now, why would you marry her? Forget about being an idiot or not. You just got a sneak peek at the rest of your life. Are you ready to always be the least important member of this relationship? She's telling you who she is right now. If you choose not to listen now, you don't get to act like the victim later. Not the idiot, except to yourself. You are exactly right. There is a double standard here. It doesn't seem like your brother has done anything wrong, while your future sister-in-law has. Actually, plenty of times at that. Your fiancé is not taking your concerns or happiness into account. People often dismiss men being harassed, which is not okay, and that is exactly what your fiancé is doing. Everything is about family for her, but she gets to decide for you when it comes to your family. You have every right to be concerned about this. Stand your ground, OP. I, 25 female, was recently proposed to by my fiancé, 26 male. We'll be paying for the wedding ourselves, since it will be rather small and we're decently well off. Since we're paying for everything, we've been making most of the decisions, and one of my decisions was to rent the dress. I don't see the point in paying thousands of dollars for one dress I can never wear again. My fiancé agreed with me. Unfortunately, the moment I announced that I was engaged, all anybody cared about was the dress. Since it was all they wanted to talk about, it eventually came up that I didn't plan on buying the dress and instead planned on renting it. Well, they were livid. Almost everyone present pulled me aside and lectured me about how that dress would contain so many cherished memories, how everyone in the family still owned their wedding clothes, etc. I suppose they had a point. Every other married woman in the family still has her dress, and several of my cousins have gotten married in their grandmother's or even great-grandmother's dresses. But considering my fiancé and I don't want children, and therefore won't have grandchildren, that's not an issue for us. I told my relatives that I didn't see the point in spending loads of money on something that would do nothing but gather dust in my closet, and they made the same points over and over. Eventually I snapped that if they wanted the dress so badly, they could pay for it. Everyone went silent, and nobody said another word about it for the rest of the night. The next day, I told my best friend what had happened, and she awkwardly said that she agreed with my family and that a wedding dress is too important to just rent. I hastily changed the subject. So, am I the idiot? Yes, you need a brand new dress that costs $10,000, but oh, we aren't chipping in. Come on, no. Men typically rent tuxes. What is the difference? I think renting a wedding dress is economical, environmentally friendly, and honestly, other countries do this. I'm in the US and have friends who immigrated here and have since gotten married, rent their dresses, and this is totally normal in their cultures. Not the idiot. Not even a little bit. Not the idiot. This actually made me laugh, though I don't mean to be rude. People get so invested in their own traditions that it can be incomprehensible to them that others might not want to follow in their footsteps. Sometimes they even feel personally attacked if someone decides to do something different. My guess is some of the people who bought their dress may actually have felt slightly embarrassed, or that you were trying to shame them by mentioning it would be rented. My sister rented her dress and got a much nicer dress than she could have ever afforded. It was lovely. Myself, I thought I'd want to keep my dress. I still have it 30 years later, unused, sitting in a big box. Both my daughters have completely different style from me, so it's never going to get used. Not the idiot, but get out of the habit of telling people your details. Being vague is the way to go. I, 31 male, have been with my partner, 29 female, for over 2 years. We have a pretty great relationship and have lived together very well, but there are a few things we haven't quite ironed out. For example, we both have different opinions on where we both want to live in the future, where we want to raise our kids, etc. We had a bit of a rocky start 2.5 years ago before we got properly serious. When we first met, I chose to date and initially preferred someone else, but ultimately realized I wanted to be with my partner now. This has bred a little insecurity, and now I have to hand over my phone every now and then when she's feeling particularly insecure, so she can check through my phone without me being present to make her see there is nothing else going on. Of course, I have nothing to hide, but personally, I hate having to pass over my device and then sit in the other room while I get inspected. Anyway, I hope the insecurity and phone checking decrease into non-existence. It has massively decreased in frequency, and we can agree on the next place we live. With that being said, she wants to get engaged by summer 2022. If I can't commit to that, she will ultimately find someone else who will marry her. She wanted to get engaged earlier this year, but I've already asked for an extension. I don't think I can extend the timelines again. I don't want to break up, but I feel stressed, like I'm being pushed to get engaged before I'm ready, and before we've ironed out our issues. Time is moving fast and I'm scared. Edit. I should add, we do talk about our issues, where we want to live, etc. We just haven't agreed. Moving the engagement timeline is less negotiable. She wants to have kids in around 3 years, so she needs to get married the year before, and thus needs to get engaged the year before that, which puts the timeline to 2022. Lots of red flags here. She doesn't trust you, the phone, and ultimatums are a huge red flag and a sign of how the relationship will be from that point on. Trust me on this one. If she doesn't trust you now, it'll only get worse. Women don't suddenly get lax and comfortable once a ring is on their finger. Extension? You don't want to marry her. She doesn't want to be in a relationship where there is no plan to get married. She's also approaching an age where, if she wants to have biological children, she needs to get a move on. You have incompatible goals for this relationship. The kindest thing to do would be to break up. Wow, just wow. No one should get inspected in a relationship just because of one's insecurities. It is a huge red flag for me and probably won't stop ever, sadly. Also, making you become engaged to her by forcing you is not healthy. A lot of red flags. Talk to her about this. It's scary, I know, but it will make you feel better. Some questions to ask yourself. Why does she want to get engaged in such a hurry? If she wants to get engaged after 2.5 years of dating, how long will she be happy being just engaged? You're a doormat, OP.